Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a recap video based on the past trading week, and obviously based off of the analysis I did last week, which was the Outlook video. So I'll just kind of go through all the highlighted pairs here to the right to kind of see how they played out. Trades that I actually entered, because you could see a few here turn to green. So I entered those positions. And just kind of have a look at and see how the other pairs actually played out, right? Yeah, I'm happy to say it was a very good trading week for me. It was probably one of my best trading weeks since I've started trading. Not the best trading week, but one of the very best trading weeks that I've had. So I'm happy to start the channel off on a good foot. And hopefully we have some nice trading weeks to come. So you obviously have to enjoy the wins when you get them, and because losing streaks can happen. But I'm happy to say I didn't lose any trades this week, which is rare. So anyway, I don't know, you'll probably see that I have changed the resolution just a little bit for the recording. So hopefully you can see my charts just that little bit clearer this week. And if it works, then hopefully this will be the, I'll just kind of stick to this resolution. So yeah, because I got some feedback that it was difficult to see the charts. So hopefully this makes it a little bit easier. All right, so I'll start with the red pairs because those were the ones off in the future. Then I'll drop to the yellows, and then I'll drop to the greens, which are the pairs I actually traded, right? So GBPJPY, I'll also try to keep it as quick as possible. So based on the analysis last week, I said that I would, my bias for the pound was, strong. So a continued move up because of the bullish trend. However, I wanted to see a kind of breakthrough at this daily level, push back into the level, and then go long, right? That's why it's red. It's still in the process of happening. We're kind of seeing some rejection at this level, so we'll have to see how it plays out, right? But this is what I'll be moving. This is the move I'll be looking for. If it does come back down to this area, then I'd look for maybe a confluence of this trend line here together with this zone for then another push up. But then if it breaks the trend line, then we'd look for some price action confirmation to then look for shorts, right? But for now, this is still the bias. EURUSD. Right, I said that I'd like to see it push back into this daily level here for then a continued move up. We're starting to see it kind of curl over just that little bit. It not really anything really happened. It just kind of consolidated for the week. Kind of went up, came back down. So it ended the week where it started, right? Because it started the week here. You have your 5 candles, ended the week right back here. So nothing really happening there. So we just continue to wait. AUDNZD. So this one was interesting. So I said that because of the break of this steep trend line, you might actually see a bullish. This is what gave me the bias for, well, one of the reasons I said it's a confirmed bias for bullish AUD this week, because we had the break of this trend line, and then I said if it was to continue bullish, you'd see a break of this trend line, which it did, right? However, there's no trade for me on this pair because I'd like to see it push past this daily level, come back down, test it, and then we'd look for further long positions, right? So this kind of is working out as expected. So I'll drop to the yellows now. GBPCAD, this one was interesting. I know it's kind of hard to see here because everything white, but hopefully we'll be able to see here, right? So we had this trend line here, and I said it was broken and came back up, and is currently around this area when I did my analysis. So what I said I'd like to see was either, if my bias was to change to bearish, I'd like to see this being broken, this longer term trend line. I'd like to see it broken, retested, and then look for shorts, right? So it's currently being broken. And on the lower time frames, there was a retest, and we'll drop to the lower time frames in a bit. And then obviously if it was to continue bearish, we'd like to see it break this level here, come back, test it, and then look for longs, right? So just drop to the 4 hour time frame quickly to see what actually played out. Okay, so this line here is the longer term trend line. So you saw the break, it came back up, rejected it, pushed down, it came back up, rejected it again, and then pushed down further, right? The reason why I didn't take any trades here is because this is not enough confirmation for me. If I wanted to enter short, I would have liked to see a break like this. You see this sort of movement here, then it trickled back up, and then a strong move down. That is the kind of price action I'd like to see to get an entry in this area. But that didn't happen, right? It kind of just trickled back into this level. So it's just a very, very corrective, slow movement. So there was no entry on this pair for me. EURCHF, daily chart. Right, so I said last week that my bias for this would have been bullish, but what I'd like to see is a breakthrough, a retest of the level, which it did, right? So this was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So on Monday we got a test of the level with the trend line, and then you had that bullish move up, right? I would have taken this entry, but my personal bias was a weaker euro, right? But we saw this bullish move because of a weaker chef. But so it wasn't very clear for me, and I think that the move actually played out in Europe. No, I would have gotten an entry on. Yeah, I would have gotten an entry on Monday. But yeah, it wasn't because, if I'm being honest with myself, because of my bias of a weaker euro, I wasn't 100% clear with this. But if I followed my analysis, this would have been a very good trade, because I would have entered, let me show you. So I would have entered at and around this level, right? Stops would have been beneath, and then initial targets would have been previous highs. So that would have been initial targets, and then you could either target these highs around here, right? So that would have been a pretty decent trade, but I didn't take an entry on it. So you win some, you lose some. EURNZD, so this is currently playing out as expected, and again, right, as I was saying about the weaker euro, so my bias was short, so yeah, that's why I didn't take the trade. So anyway, we saw Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, so Sunday. So I did analysis on this candle. So I said what I'd like to see, because of the downtrend, I'd like to see a breakthrough of this level, come back up, test it, and then look for further shorts, right? On the lower time frame, there was a pretty decent setup here. But I didn't take this entry because I was, at this time, this happened on, I believe, Thursday the 7th, whenever that was, the 7th. I was already short on EURAUD, and because of the heavy correlation between the EURAUD and the EURNZD, I just stuck with the clearer of the two setups, right? So, but we'll get back to EURAUD in a bit. USDCHF. So what we were saying on this pair was that, so 5 candles back, so I did my analysis around here, somewhere around this level, and I said that I'd like to see, for me to get involved in this trade because of the downtrend, I'd like to see a push back up into this level and then a drop further, right? And we saw this bullish engulfing candle which happened on Friday, so we might actually see this week, we might see a continued buy up into this level, and if that happens, I'd look for rejection here and then look for a short. So that my analysis is still the same here. USDCAD, this didn't really play out. I mean, it did kind of, but nothing to talk about. So I was saying that I'd like to see a breakthrough at this level here, which were these previous lows, and we saw that with this candle here, right? We had this bearish engulfing candle with momentum, and you've seen this corrective kind of move back. But in reality, on the lower time frames, this is just consolidation for me, so there was nothing really clear, and I'd still just like to see this push through back up into this level and then drop. So just waiting around for that to happen. USDJPY, this one was very interesting. So I did my analysis, so 5 candles back, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, Sunday. So I did my analysis around this candle here, right? So I said I'd like to see a break at this level, push through, come back up and retest it. Or because of the price action that we were seeing, and these trend lines that here that we're forming, what you might see, well, I'll just drop to the lower time frame so we could see it clearer. All right, so what you might see was price push up, right, and then come back down correctively, right? And I said that might actually happen, and so far it's playing out, right? So it disrespected the shorter term trend line, which we were expected, but then it's respecting currently this longer term trend line, right? So let us see, we'll just see how price plays out from here. It might continue to disrespect and just go all the way up to this level, or it might just correctively move back down. You know, who knows? We just kind of have to wait around to see. But because of these stronger moves up, I don't know, it might just continue bullish. So we just have to keep an eye on it to see what happens. AUDCAD, so I said on the daily time frame, so I did my analysis around this area here. I would have liked to see it come back down into this level and then look for longer positions. That would have been a clear setup for me, but my bias was long because of the long uptrend on AUD. My bias was a continued bullish move on the AUD, and we saw that happen, right? We saw the AUD continue to move up, and then I think that's it. So that's all the yellows, right? So I'll drop to the greens now, which are the trades that I actually took. So right, let's have a look at my journal. So NZDUSD 4-hour long, net pips 125. This was the trade before I entered, or at the time of entry, and then this was the trade at the time of closing, right? Initial TP here, full TP here. Okay, so let's go and look at this pair. But before I do, so let's look at my comments, right? So I always start my journal comments by who alerted me to the trade. So sometimes you'll see me, sometimes you'll see whoever I heard the trade from, right? So in this case, Nick, which is just a guy that I follow. But anyway, so let's look. So me, break and retest of a daily level, 50% fib, no news. Price tried to go down once, then tried again and failed. The weak USD and strong NZD, I think with the weak USD and strong NZD, I think one last push may happen. Half profits was taken at 1.3 to 1, full TP at 2.8 to 1. Trade worked out nicely. All right, so let's have a look at the analysis, right? So I had this level in here, which we analyzed last week. It might be a little bit confusing to see because of all the drawings and stuff, but just bear with me, right? So we had this level here, and I said, well, if we sort of push back into this level, I'll look for a long position, right? So I'll drop to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, so we had the push up, and I think I did my analysis on this candle, and I said at the time, because of the bearish engulfing candle, I'll wait to see how price reacts, right? And why I believe the price will continue to go up is because even though we saw the bearish engulfing candle, if you see something like this, or typically if prices to continue going short, it will continue going short, right? But instead, straight afterwards, you saw this bullish move up, and then it tried to go again, and then a bullish move up, right? So on this bullish candle, I got my alert and I did my analysis, right? So I said I would like to see price come up, trickle back into the level, even though it didn't trickle as such, but it came back to the level. And because of the way price was moving, you had the bearish engulfing, but it recovered. Bearish engulfing, and then it likelihood at this time, which is where I entered, likelihood because of the longer term uptrend, likelihood is that it will continue bullish, right? So I just stacked the odds in my favor, and as usual, I would say target the last previous highs. So this was my first TP here, secured at 1.3 to 1. Final TP was based way off of a level in the past. If I drop to the weekly time frame, yeah, it was kind of this area around here. It was actually the daily time frame. There's this level, there's a level in here that I thought those would be safe targets, right? So that's where I targeted my full TP. All right, so this trade worked out very, very nice. I was happy with this trade. You'd see on my charts occasionally, you'd see me put in an invalid level, and all that really means is if where I entered this trade, if price was to continue lower and then close beneath this red level, which is just the low of the rejection that I saw. If it closed beneath here, I would consider the move to be invalid, and I'll cut my losses short and move on. Maybe look for a re-entry at some other point, right? It just saves me a little bit more from taking full losses, and I'll just capitalize on my winners, right? So that's just my strategy for exiting trades early. All right, so that was NZDUSD. Second trade that I took was EURAUD. This was the clearest setup of the week. So I did my analysis on the daily time frame, and I saw this level formed, right? And it already broke this level, right? So I did my analysis. So this was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So this was around Sunday. This is where I did my analysis, and I said I'd like to see price come back up into the level, show some signs of rejection, and then look for further moves lower, right? On the forward time frame, that played out very, very nicely on Monday. So, you know, afterwards, price, after this momentum move down, price pushed back up into the level. I got my entry right at where I forecasted, and then initial TP were at these previous lows, and then I'm targeting lows way back in the past for final TPs. So I've got half of the position already secured at 1.9 to 1 risk to reward, and then half of my position is currently running. Just have a look at my journal for this entry. So Euro AUD 4 hour short. First TP was at 156 pips, but there's no end screenshot because I'm still in the position. So I'll just show you the screenshot when I enter the position. So I entered here. Obviously price moved a bit before after entry, but yeah, I entered at that level. And let me just close these off actually. Right, so enter that level was the trade. So I didn't explain this before, but I always keep a log of if my trade was actually valid and if I managed it correctly. That's what these two columns are. So me, break and retest, direction of the main daily trend, confluence of the daily zone, 50% fib, news, none. This trade met all my rules, happy with the entry, half profit at 1.9 to 1 R. 1.9 to 1 risk to reward, or reward to risk. But yeah, so final TP hasn't been secured, so that trade is still open and running, right? There's some other trades here on the lower time frames which I'll explain why I took these trades. And I'll start with this first trade on Euro AUD. All right. So I'll drop to the entry time frame, which was the 5-minute time frame. Now, bear with me, right? I don't normally trade the lower time frames, but because one of the accounts that I trade, I need to find a way to be in and out of trades a little bit quicker, because they don't allow you to hold trades during news events, and they don't allow me to hold trades over the weekend. I have to find quicker time frames to trade, but still with my methodology, right? So I'll just explain to you how I took trades on the lower time frame. So I'll just drop to the 5 minutes and show you the entries that I took. All right, so what I've been testing and back testing and now forward testing is a divergent strategy at daily levels where I would normally enter, but I'm looking for certain things to happen, right? So I'm looking for hidden divergence on the lower time frame. So in this case here, you have price forming higher highs, but on the RSI, you have price forming lower highs, right? So if I see this, what I've been testing is a break and a retest after that formation, right? So we had the formation complete here, and then you had this push down, went back up, pushed down, and then it came up to this level here, right? Very, very hard to see. I'll just highlight it here, right? So this was the level that I had in mind, right? So it broke through, and then once I saw it came up with this candle here and retested it, that was enough for me to enter that trade, right? So that was that entry. I think first TP, I can't remember where I set my first TPS, but I think it might have been here at these lows for 1-to-1, and then further targets. Let's go check and see. So Euro AUD 5 minutes short, 45 pips net pips. This was the screenshot, right? So I had me daily time frame H4 level in a, I should say, bear trend, right? D and H4 in a bear trend, price retested and dropped 15 and 5 minute time frame to look for hidden divergence. All right, so let's open this just to check where my first TP was, because I deleted it. It's not on that screenshot. Yeah, all right, yeah, cool. So yeah, this was my first TP here, pretty much 1-to-1. I think it was 1.2-to-1 or something like that. Yeah, right, yeah, these levels here. Yeah, so that was my first TP. So first TP here around these levels, and then a final TP was at the lows, right? So at these lows here, that was a full 4.3 to 1 reward to risk, right? The second trade that I took, you can see on this chart, we had the same sort of stuff, right? So you had higher high on price, but you had lower highs forming on the RSI. So that to me was the hidden divergence pattern I was looking for. The level that was retested was this level here, which was just these highs, these previous highs. So just draw the zone in here, right? So that's what I was looking for. So once I saw this strong move down, I said once it came back into that level, I'll take an entry. Once I saw some rejection, which I did, and then trade worked out very, very nicely. So that was 3.7 to 1 reward to risk, right? Let's just look at my journal entry. So Euro AUD 5 minutes short, 46 pips net. H4 level being retested again. I took a screenshot of the H4 level at the time, so I'll just show you. Right, so this was at the point in time that it was being retested. That's when I'll drop to the lower time frame and look for my entry, right? So then 5 minute hidden divergence, trade met all my rules, happy with entry, half profits at 1.6 to 1, full profits at 3.7 to 1. Trade worked out nicely. So I'll just look at the screenshots for these. So that was at the time of entry. So hidden divergence, as I just illustrated, it came back up to the level, which you could see here. I just redraw it for you. First target was around this level, right here at these lows, and then I've targeted full lows down here from a full TP. Whenever price reaches my first TP, that's when I'll put my stops to break even, and then I'll just let the trade run to see if it hit full targets, right? And it worked out. Those trades worked out very, very nice this week. So that was this trade here. So I just explained something as well for these trades. So if normally I would never take a trade on if I am in drawdown. So let's say I entered Euro AUD, but this trade was to go into drawdown, but I'm seeing another entry higher in when price is in drawdown. I wouldn't normally take an entry, right? That is not in my trading plan, so I wouldn't take an entry. However, if I'm in a pair that is in profit and I've already secured profit, so profit is already in my bag, I've taken some of the trade off the table, then I'd look for re-entries on that same pair, right? So like for me, because price broke these lows here and came back and tested, those would be entries for me, and I took that as an opportunity to then look at the lower time frames and test my lower time frame entry, right? So that's why I took these trades. They did meet my rules, so I was very, very happy with those trades, right? Anyway, so moving on. So the next, Right, so the next pair that I traded, and I think the last pair that I traded, was AUDUSD. AUDUSD was very clear for me on the H4 time frame. So this was a breakthrough. It retested, and I took an entry, right? But I'll just explain something about this trade. So this trade actually set up on, I believe it was Thursday, but I didn't, because this week was NFP, which is non-farm payroll, and we had, it's a major news event. We had the USD obviously in this pair. I didn't necessarily want to be in a trade on the AUDUSD for NFP. So I took only lower time frame entries on this pair, but if I took it on the 4 hour time frame, my analysis would have been stops beneath this level, right? I would have considered this to be my invalid level here. So that would have been my invalid level if price was to close beneath it, and then I'd target the previous highs, which would have been here, right? And then the trade would probably been stopped out at break even anyway, because we had the push. Well, no, it wouldn't have been stopped at break even. It's probably still be in the trade. But because of NFP, you never know what can happen. So I didn't take an entry on the higher time frame. Instead, what I did, because it's a valid level that I would have traded on the higher time frame, I dropped to the lower time frame to find entries, because I wanted to get some quick trades to hopefully meet some targets before the end of the week. So the first trade that I took was on a 5-minute time frame. It was this trade here. I'll just hide this for now. That was a second trade that I took. Okay, so this was the first trade that I took, right, on the 5-minute time frame, and it was hidden divergence again, right? So price was making lower lows, but then RSI was making higher lows, right? So you had this low here, this low here. So this was the level I was actually targeting for entry, right? So we had the confirmation of the divergence, then price pushed up, formed this high, it pulled back down, formed the double bottom, and then it pushed up and then came back and retested. So this would have been the end, my ideal entry. Unfortunately, I didn't get that entry, and price pushed up and then came back down and tested these highs. So I took an entry here. That was a bad entry, right? This is why I have it in red on my journal here. Even though it worked out to be okay, it was a bad entry. So what does the journal say? So Nick actually alerted me to this trade, which I said is a guy that I follow. So, but he just alerted me to the level, right? The trade was actually mine. So H4 break and retest. This was the screenshot at the time that it was retesting. So there you go. So it was currently retesting that H4 level. So we're looking for bullish trades, right? Main daily trend is up. So I took a 5-minute hidden divergence. I didn't like the retracement. I rushed my entry, but trade still valid. Half profit at 1 hour. The rest stopped at break even. So I'll just show you what that trade actually played out, right? So I took an entry here at this level, and then straight away I suffered some drawdown, right? But then around here, this is where I was targeting my initial TP at 1-to-1 for this trade, right? So price played out, came up and hit my TP here, and then around here is where I was taken out at break even, right? It came back down and took me out at break even. So that was this trade, right? And then I've got another trade, which is the trade I deleted, right? So this trade here, oh sorry, not that. All right, this trade here. So you could also see on my journal for AUDUSD, this was taken on a 15-minute time frame, but is also highlighted in red. The trade was a valid trade, but because of the rules I explained to you before, whereby if I'm in drawdown, which I was, right? I was in drawdown with this first trade here. If I'm in drawdown, I don't normally take another entry, right? I would wait for the trade to either hit full stop loss, or and if it does, then I'll find a re-entry at some other point, or the trade needs to be in profit and I need to have secured profit, and then I'd look for re-entries. But those rules weren't met, so I highlighted it in red, because, you know, so that I know to learn from it in the future, right? And that's just my trading plan, but, you know, anyway. So with 5 minutes, so I took this on a 15-minute time frame, but with the same rules, right? So I'll show you it on a 15-minute time frame. So on a 15-minute time frame, you had 15, yeah, all right. So you had price making the lower lows, right? Then you had price making on the RSI making higher lows, right? So we had the push up, then it came back down and retested funny enough, retested the level that I should have entered on the first place, and I took the trade, right? And the initial TP was at these highs, so initial TP was taken. But I didn't move my stops to break even for this, because I was still had the strong bias of long on this position, and I didn't want it to ruin the trade, right? So, and because I already secured, what was it, almost 2-to-1 risk to reward, I figured I could just be a little bit more risky with this trade. So in it, further final targets were actually up here, but that didn't actually happen. So what happened was, at the time of NFP release, price was here, right? So at that time, I was currently in about 4 to almost 5-to-1 profit, right? So 4.5 to 1. So what I decided to do was I moved my stops into profit at this level here, and I said if price was to come back down and just take me out in profit, that's okay. So that's what I ended up doing, right? You know, actually I think it was here. Yeah. Sorry, I put my stops around this level here, this yellow level here, right? Because I just figured that might be a decent barrier and it would lock in some decent profits for me, right? So that was almost 3-to-1 with stops in profit. And so said, so done, it did come down, whip down, and take me out of the trade. So yeah, so those were those trades for the week, right? So very, very good trading week for me. I was very happy with it. And so I'll just show you what that would look like from a hypothetical profit point of view. So if you were trading a fake account of 10,000, right? And these were all the trades for the week. So 1.3-to-1 secured on the first position for NZDUSD, final TP at 2.8-to-1. That would have netted $200. Second position was EURAUD. First take profit was 1.9-to-1. Second take profit was 3.2-to-1. But sorry, yes, that's where it is currently, but I didn't take profit there. That's just where it is at this point in time. So let me go and extend this. So yeah, roughly 3.2-to-1 is where price is right now. But like I said, I'm still in this trade, right? So, but if you were to secure profit at that point, right? So that would have been good. Then I believe this was one of the EUROUDs, 1.2-to-1. First take profit, second take profit, 4.3-to-1. Then we had the second EUROUD, which is 1.6-to-1. First take profit, second take profit was 3.7. Then we had that AUDUSD took out 1-to-1, the rest was stopped at break even. And then we had that other AUDUSD. First take profit 1.9-to-1, second take profit was 2.9, almost 3-to-1, right? So that would have resulted in a 13% gross or percentage growth. If you know, a total of 13% or 13R, whatever you decided to risk on your trading. So you know, that is a pretty decent return. I could be like one of those YouTubers that say I passed FTMO in a week. But you know, as I said, this doesn't happen all the time. This was a very, very good week for me. So I'm very happy with how these trades played out. So anyway, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the recap, and I'll be doing another analysis tomorrow for the week ahead. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.